Hey friends, I have had nothing short of an entire blast trying new fragrances, so you don't have to. But if you have tried these, I absolutely want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Did you love them? Did you hate them? Do you think they're worth the price tag or not? Tell us all the juicy details down below. I think I have a total of 11. Two of these are Mind Games fragrances that I'm going to save them to the end and I'll share why they're at the end when I get there. They're new releases. Well, I'll just tell you right now. At the moment, they are only in huge decanter form, and those are almost $900. So look, unless you just have a ton of disposable income, I'm just gonna say wait for the actual bottle, perfume bottle that's gonna be 100 mils or something like that to come out. This happened with a few other fragrances before, and then we saw the regular bottles from Mind Games. Even the regular bottles are outrageously expensive, but these are two good ones, and I wanted to make sure that I shared my thoughts with you ahead of their official regular schmegular 100 mil bottle release. So the idea here is to tell you my thoughts on the fragrance. Remember, this is a sampling experience, so these aren't like entire full day wears, several days wear exploration. So it's a little bit of like a rapid judgment. Keep that in mind that opinions can change when you have a full bottle. I still think it's fun to sample and share my thoughts. I want to rate these for you on a scale of 1 to 10 and share whether I think it's worth exploring from my own personal perspective and opinion. First up from Creed is Elazaria. People have gone bananas over this fragrance. I could not wait to get my nose on it. I'm just going to say straight up that this is not my favorite of the bunch. I think there are other ones that I'm going to talk about today that I think are maybe more interesting or worth trying out. That said, I can understand why people really enjoy this fragrance. For me, I found the opening of this a little bit off-putting. There was maybe a floral in there that just didn't work out for me. The vibe was a little bit off, and I kept going, I'm not sure what people are smelling. However, as this fragrance dries down, I think is where the magic of it comes out. For me, it was, I'm looking at my little notes that I wrote in case you're wondering what I'm staring at off to the side. Powdery, rosy. I got a lot of Lily of the Valley. Lily of the Valley can be a great note. It can have a sort of clean, crisp, soapy smell. On occasion, there can be something a little bit off about it that just doesn't work for me. I feel like I got a ton of Lily of the Valley in this fragrance, perhaps overpowering the composition. For me, it was in the very deep dry down that this fragrance got its prettiest. There, it felt like a fuzzy cashmere sweater that I think just sort of envelops you in rosy femininity, rosy, powdery femininity. The bottle's, of course, pretty with the pink. I scored this one somewhere between a 6 and a 7. If you are a powdery rose lover and Lily of the Valley is not a scent that you struggle with, a note that you struggle with, check this one out. It definitely is pretty. Get past the opening and let it mellow out on you so you can understand sort of the beauty of the fragrance. That's what I have to say about that. Then we go to one that is getting a ton of hype and people are really loving, and I get it. It's called Jasmine Freak from room 1015. I give this opening a full on 10, maybe even like a 12. No, erase that, a 15 out of 10. The opening, I'm going to spray it on. The opening of this fragrance is pure amazingness. Yeah, this is very sort of candied floral in a way that just draws you right in. It's like a black hole that sucks you right into its beauty, like a finely spun web of candied something or other and beautiful feminine florals. And it's fantastic. Now, on the dry down is a little bit different. It's still really, really good. I give the dry down of the fragrance about a 6 or a 7, whereas that opening is so divine and exquisite. It's just magnificent. It takes you away. That opening is very candied, very sweet. It has like a pear and melon juice type of vibe with those florals. It's so, so good. As it dries down, it's like a fruity floral and it's very nice. Nothing, bad to say about it. I think it's super duper pleasant. I don't think it's especially unique. And I just want to be clear, I'm not looking for super unique fragrances myself. I don't know if you are. I feel like we're in an era where a lot of people that have gotten into fragrances, you reach this like threshold of saturation with fragrances where you've tried a lot and it's hard for something to impress you. I don't seek to be impressed by fragrances. For me, it's like, do I like it? Could I see myself wearing it? Is this something that gives me some kind of good feeling? Does it make me feel strong, powerful, cozy, pretty? Put together something. I look for something like that versus is this the most, unique work of art? So no, Jasmine Freak is not a unique work of art in the dry down, but it still stays very pretty. It reminds me slightly of My Way Nectar from Armani, if you have tried the one that was released last year with the pear note. And so I give Jasmine Freak a big thumbs up. This is one that I may consider getting a bottle of once it, the hype dies down and it goes on sale. Really interesting fragrance on the opening. Look, if the opening stayed throughout, This would be like nirvana in a fragrance for me. So, so pretty. That sweet floral, just heaven, heaven in a bottle. That said, to be clear, the dry down is still quite nice on this. All right, let's go then to Maison Francis Kurkdjian Kirky, which I understand was a nickname for him in his youth. It's interesting that people are expecting this sort of powerhouse fragrance because of who the perfumer is. But I'm going to tell you, this is a very soft, delicate fragrance. I just sprayed it again here. I give this fragrance something like an 8 out of 10 because I'm in this era right now where I am enjoying softer, delicate skin scent fragrances. Hey, I may go back to beast mode and super spicy and who knows what else in the fall. Maybe the leathers will come back out. But right now, probably for the past 2 or 3 months, I have been digging this kind of scent. For me, this is very soft, wispy, peaches in the distance. It smells to me like if you drive by a fruit stand and there are lots of bushels of peaches out, they're freshly picked. So they haven't completely ripened to the point where they're like super juicy and sweet, but they're fresh and they still have some delicate sweetness to them. And if you think about the nature of a peach with its fuzziness, and I'm not the, biggest peach lover, I might stop saying that because I have apparently been into like peach and apricot and the floral osmanthus note lately. So maybe I need to stop saying that. But man, it's lovely. You know what else it just reminded me of? That aspect of it, the peachiness in this reminds me of the new Glossier Fleur, if you have tried that. Glossier You Fleur that has the osmanthus and apricot notes in it. Just that aspect of it though. This is clean, it's airy, it's musky for me. It also gave me the sense of hot, drier air. Like after you've dried your clothes and you open the door to the dryer and some of that warm laundry air comes out, like a touch of that here. I found this very appealing, and it has a lot to do with just what I'm personally enjoying right now. This is a fragrance that I would absolutely consider a bottle of, once it goes on sale, because we know the MFK prices are they're not playing around. They're gonna come get your money, okay? They're gonna come get your money. Anyway, Kirky was a thumbs up for me. Now, had you asked me about Kirky 2, 3 years ago, I would have passed on something like this because I was in a different phase of enjoying different kinds of fragrances. But today, in this day and age, very, very nice for me. All of these fragrances will be linked down below. And if I have discount codes to pass along, you will get those in the description box, of course. So the next one is called LAC.TON.IC. And I believe the brand is pronounced Scentologia. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So I was really eager to try this out. It's supposed to be very gourmand, and it is. However, this fragrance gave me the same challenge as Dave from Henry Rose, which I like Dave too, but there's a little bit of a masculine aspect to this fragrance that I don't think I've heard others mention. Do I think it would work fantastic on women? Yes. It is very literal gourmand with some sort of masculine, almost like a woody touch to it. So I gave this fragrance a 7 out of 10. It is definitely gourmand and delivers on what it says, but it has a little something extra that I'm not sure is for me, at least right now. This is one that if I order anything else, it would probably be a travel spray just to give it a full wear and see, am I vibing with this or not? So thick milkiness. I felt like this had a very dark, nutty aspect to it. Sometimes, like an almond note or whatever, can be a little bit on the lighter side. This one had like a darker aspect to it, this nuttiness. It was thick and nutty, very warm, slightly caramel. The caramel comes out a lot more in the base. In the opening and in the mid, I feel like I got something like a rice note or like an overcooked pastry even. There was something like that happening as the fragrance developed, and as it got deeper, it almost gave me like the thickness of if you've ever had a Charleston chew, that gets really thick in your mouth as you're enjoying the candy and it's melting. It gives you that. I don't want to make the noise because I hate the noise, but like that thick, sticky feeling. Something like that. Description is supposed to be a gourmand fantasy where playful notes of creamy milk, sweet almond, and juicy mandarin mingle with the tropical allure of coconut. I don't feel like I picked up any citrus in this at all. There are some florals in the middle, and in the base is where the caramel and some other thicker notes come out. I feel like it's almost too much. Like the gourmand aspects are too thick. Sometimes you have like a melted caramel that's sort of easy breezy in a fragrance, and other times it's sort of thick. Like a thickness with some woodiness to it that was just a bit overpowering for me to the point where I wasn't sure that this was a fragrance that I would actually enjoy wearing because it's so heavily gourmand with a thick woodiness in the base. So I'd be interested to know, have you tried this and did you have a good experience from it, or did you have the same experience that I had? I give it a 7 and an overall thumbs up, and like I said, one that I might order a travel spray of just to see how it plays on me. I'm not quite sure. Ooh, this next one has gotten a lot of love, and I can absolutely see why. Very pretty. How do we pronounce this? People have been saying Empadia, Empadia. Empanada? Just kidding. Somebody help us with the pronunciation down below. So this is a full 8 out of 10, maybe even a little bit higher. And my description is rosy, powdery, very smooth. In the very deep dry down, this kept reminding me of another fragrance. And it's not one that you've heard of so far. What came to mind for me is Pavilion from Andrea Mack, which I adore. Pavilion. I go crazy over that. It's a rosy, oody, vanillic fragrance. I think it has something like either a caramel or praline note, I forget. A tiny bit reminiscent of Oud Bouquet. And so Empadia or Empadia, however you pronounce this, does not remind me of Oud Bouquet at all, the way Pavilion does. The rosy aspects of it remind me of Pavilion. This has been compared to Delina Exclusive and several other rose-based fragrances like that. I can see why there are some similarities. I do think this fragrance is beautiful on its own. You must enjoy rose. For me, this is a very traditional smelling rose, and you do need to enjoy powderiness in a scent because I feel like the powder is a dominant note. It doesn't dominate, but it is dominant in the fragrance alongside the rose. And I just found this smooth and pretty. The bottle is beautiful with the ombre effect. I think this is a win. I think it's a win. A win is a win. Thumbs up. I don't know if I'll go out and buy it. Like if this is one that shows up in PR, I'm gonna rock it. And if it goes on sale, it may be on my shelf. Then we go to Power Self from Initio. I don't like this name. It just, I don't know. Could we have done something a little bit more creative than Power Self? Like, what does that even mean? And it doesn't smell like a Power Self fragrance. That said, because it's an initio release and because it's so pricey, we have super high expectations. I don't know that that's always fair, but it is what it is. Like that's how it goes when you're talking about spending your own money. I gave this something in the range of between a 6 and a 7. I think this is nice. This is another one that like I wouldn't hesitate to wear this. I wouldn't tell anyone to stay away from it. I don't know that in a sea of lots of releases, this one especially stands out, but in fairness, I think the same can be said of like Kirky. And I like that because I'm in the mood for that kind of fragrance. So as always, I know you're tired of hearing this. Fragrance is so subjective, and whether you like a fragrance or not is going to be based on whether you're vibing with that kind of fragrance at the moment or absolutely not, right? That said, I got to give this its credit. My description is that it's warm, embracing florals. I found it to be soft and gentle. The words that came up for me were caressing and smooth and gentle. And I kind of liked it. I kind of liked it. Actually, as I'm smelling it more here, I've tried this twice before, so this is sort of the third try of it, and I have tried it on skin. It's warm and it's lovely. Maybe my issue is that there's some kind of disconnect between the name. So I'm expecting a powerful, very forward fragrance, very in your face and confident. The juxtaposition between the name Power Self and this very demure kind of scent. Not that you can't be powerful in your demure nature. I think I'm changing my mind. I think I'm going to bump this up to somewhere between a 7 and an 8 instead of between a 6 and a 7. And it's very pleasant. So once I get past the name and maybe think of it as something else, like if it was named Caress or something like that, it might like stick for me more. Let me know. Have you tried this fragrance? I would be curious to hear your thoughts. What do you think of my description? Does it match how you see it or do you see it in a different way? Let us know below. I did have one fail out of this bunch and it's coming up next, and that is Torino 24. So I have tried the other Torinos. Well, let me see. I've tried 22. Is there a 21 and a 23? I think I've tried all of those. They all gave me similar vibes with slight changes between them. And in general, the line is one that I find aromatic as a whole. The other sort of through note is there's some citrus, I believe, in all of those. Or is it 22 that I found the most feminine? Anyway, let me stop trying to act like I'm going to review the other ones because I don't have them in front of me. But Torino 24, I ended up in my mind saying no to this. And I'm going to give this a 6. My description is that it's like ocean air plus fresh mountain air combined. It reminded me of both of those things in the morning. Like if you've stepped out of a cabin in the mountains, overlooking like a valley. We're not talking deep into a pine forest. I'm talking about like overlooking a valley where you're high up in mountain air. That kind of freshness with maybe like ocean spray freshness from the morning when the waves are starting to come in. This had very much citrus and aromatic overtones for me, and I feel like what especially stood out that is something that I didn't vibe with is something like a vetiver note. So that can smell a little bit like sometimes grassy, it could smell a little bit like hay and green and something about it that just didn't work for me. It didn't speak to me. And I also felt like overall the effect of this fragrance as it started to develop and settle down is like it smelled a little bit like some hot steam that's coming from some chemical processes in a lab. And I don't say that in a negative way or as a put down for this, but there was something really familiar about like a science lab or something like that to me. And I couldn't pinpoint it in like my memory. I was trying to remember the scene where I've smelled that scent. It's very soft and steamy, almost like a hot laundry smell along with some chemicals combined, and that's what I have to say about this one. This was a pass for me. However, I could see this smelling really fantastic on gentlemen in particular. I didn't want this for myself. Okay, so as we are approaching summer and people are thinking about fruity fragrances and a bunch of other types of summer fragrances, but fruity and tropical scents, I want to share with you Ruby from Kajal. So this brand has some really nice bottles. You have to make special room on your shelf because the bottles are wide at the base, but they're unique and they're different. I'm giving this one a 7. At the top and in the opening, it's really quite delicious. It carried across the room, and the family sitting across from me as I was testing these commented that they really liked the smell in the air. It smelled like a fruity intensity. And what came to mind for me was like, if you remember the Runts candies, they're still out now, that they're shaped in like little fruit, like little bananas and little berries and things like that. Imagine that in like a crushed powder form, Runts in a crushed powder form. That was a very sort of distinct thing that came to mind as I smelled the opening of this. In addition, like add that powdery smell with something like a watermelon joller, woo, watermelon Jolly Rancher candy. Crushed runs with watermelon Jolly Rancher, and it was quite delicious in the opening. Here's the thing about this fragrance for me that you'll either like or you'll hate. As it develops and you get to the mid and definitely in the base, you have more of like this oudi presence that you can sometimes get in Kajal fragrances. It's actually like an oudi musky combination. So a deeper, thicker woodiness. It's a very nice oud. The ouds that they use are beautiful. And I don't even know if there's oud in the fragrance. I'm just saying that it smelled like that to me with something like their musky bases. And it's nice. It's a very familiar smell. I smelled a number of Kajals and they all have something similar like that in the ones that I've tried anyway. But that sort of like Middle Eastern oudi musky base will appeal to some of you and others of you will just not enjoy that. So this is one that I would say if you're a fruity lover and you don't mind a heavy base, check this out. It's actually pretty good. This one will be a pass for me just because of that oudi musky base combined with the fruits, only because, friends, I have so many fragrances that are similar to this isn't one that I would necessarily add to my collection. That does not take away from the fact that this is a really interesting offering. So I give it about a 7, maybe a little bit more than that, 7.5-ish or so. Interesting and worth trying out. Then I was not expecting this fragrance to wow me. I ordered it on a whim, the decant, and was thinking, meh, I'll just throw that in there. I think I had to get another decant to hit the free shipping limit on ScentSplit. And so there was a new Sospiro, Il Padrino, which means the Godfather. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Love the movies, love the whole vibe. Give me Al Pacino from that time period in his acting life all day, every day. So, was Al Pacino in The Godfather? Did I just make that up? I gotta check it out. Why, yes, of course he was. You ever do that? Like you think of a memory and then you completely question yourself, like, did I remember that correctly? Or am I completely making that up? Anyway, Il Padrino. I can't not see the movie The Godfather in my mind as I test this out. And I have a little bit sprayed here just to remind myself how beautiful this is. Ooh. So it is as though you combine the best of Herba Gold. This is not like the notes say it all. This is my own impression of the fragrance without looking at the notes, right? You look at the notes, it tells you a little bit of a different story of what it should smell like. Herba Gold. So there's that sort of summer fruit bowl kind of smell, melons and things, right? Combined with maraschino, the cherry fragrance, sweet cherry, powdery, woody, almond, amber. The sort of fruity aspects of that are in here. It's like a darker fruitiness. Don't think like summer, bright, fresh fruit. Think darker, deeper. It's like the best of Herba Gold meets the best of maraschino. Add a glorious golden base. It's amber. There's an amber base to this. I'll share some of the other notes in a minute. And it also has this beautiful, enveloping, warm deliciousness. Not gourmand at all, not edible, and it just works. So now let me go to the actual notes. Amaretto, rum, blackcurrant, bergamot at the top. Maybe it's the amaretto that's giving off that sort of slightly cherry vibe. Ooh, so intoxicating. There's sandalwood, amber, and patchouli in the middle. I don't feel like I get sandalwood or patchouli, mostly amber. Benzoin, labdanum, and vanilla in the base. Yeah, I can understand how there's some vanilla that shines through. In fairness, I haven't given this a full day wear. Like I said, I don't know if some of that sort of leatheriness comes out in the base, but this is dreamy, dreamy, very sexy, very unisex sexy. I think this would smell super intoxicating on ladies and especially gentlemen. My husband was like, it's okay. And I'm thinking, I'm doing the drive by spritz on him with this one because I know it's going to smell amazing on his skin chemistry and on me. This is one that I'm going to be looking for as we head deeper into the summer, when it starts to go on discount, because this is a newer release. And I'm going to be looking to grab me a bottle of this and add this to my collection. I need a moment. I need a private moment. Just amazing. Amazing. The Godfather. Oh, no, that's not what it's called. Il Padrino. Okay, now I want to almost just like preview these two Mind Games fragrances with the hopes that they come out in the 100 ml bottles and in the travel sprays because I love the Mind Games travel sprays. They're really great. And it's a way to try the fragrance without having to drop the almost $400 for a bottle. So I'm going to start with Kingside, which is this, they're called Kingside and Queenside. And I find Kingside to be gourmand in nature and Queenside to be floral. So Kingside, let me give you my impressions and then I'll share some of the notes. This for me, I wrote down this is George Jefferson moving to the Upper East Side gourmand. It's like a gourmand masquerading as royalty or someone who had arrived in life. Okay. It's not just your traditional everyday gourmand. No, ma'am. No, sir. This is creamy, dark caramel, coffee, tonka bean, and some woodiness for me. That's the combo of scents that came to mind. Now, when you look at the note structure, there is caramel at the top that definitely comes through plum. There's coffee in the fragrance, sandalwood in the base, boya, which I believe is a type of oud, tonka bean. This gives me a little bit of the same vibes as like LAC.TON.IC that I talked about earlier. It's really deep and it's really thick. This one stays more on the like coffee shop side. I mean, you get coffee in here, like in the distance, whereas LAC.TON.IC becomes so really thick, dark, and woody for me. I think Kingside is going to smell really good to those of you that like a gourmand with a little edge. It's a little bit darker, a little bit more upscale. I have enjoyed just about every Mind Games fragrance that I've tried. There maybe was one or two that I'm like, okay, maybe not my vibe in particular, but they're all so nicely done. They all have interesting note structures, and this one is no different. This wouldn't be my favorite of the two, mostly because of the coffee nuance and because of the fact that I am not like as into coffee as I was maybe a couple of years ago in my fragrances, but it's still a super lovely scent. I guess I would give Kingside something like a 7. That said, if I had this fragrance, I would wear it. Let's talk about Queenside. This was the one my husband fell in love with for me, not for himself. He thought it would smell super good on me. This one is an 8.5, maybe a 9. It's cool, mysterious, fruity, and floral in the opening. Those were the vibes that I got. Like magnetic, but distant. The girl that walks by, she's beautiful. You want her number, but you're scared to approach her because she's a little bit aloof and maybe a little more bit more confident than you feel comfortable approaching. In the middle, this fragrance for me becomes strongest on the violet. That stands out to me as a middle note. Very cool purple fragrance in the middle. Still has a little bit of warmth in the background. And then it's like patchouli and musk in the dry down. My descriptions, the words I would use to describe this: powerful, peaceful, elegant, confident. Really, really nice. There's a sort of gentle, fruity sweetness that stays throughout the body of this fragrance with that sort of violet giving it this cold edge, this like aloof, cold edge. And it's super interesting and it works. So I'm really excited to try like a bottle of this someday. But I give this one a full thumbs up. Of the two, Kingside and Queenside, Queenside is my favorite, but I would absolutely wear Kingside as well. So that is my review of these new fragrances. Have you tried any? Tell us in the comments what you think. Let's have a little chat about whether these worked out for you or not. I'd be curious to hear. And let me know if you like these kinds of sampling videos, if they're informative, entertaining, fun, whatever for you. Let me know down in the comments. See you in the next video. Take care, friends.